Welcome to another segment of Beyond the Podium. I'm Kenny Bass, joined by the mayor of the city of Huntington, Steve Williams. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Known this man a long time, and we were just reminiscing about it. And let me ask with my first question. City manager in the 80s. Legislature, 4 terms?
4 terms. Good memory.
Been around a long time. And then you ran for mayor and you dropped out of politics a little bit to take care of private business, investment banking.
Investment banking and the brokerage business.
Right,
yeah.
So financial background. Then you get back into politics, city council.
Yeah.
And then mayor of Huntington for the last 3 terms. All of those experiences combined, how do they prepare you for the job that you will take should you be successful in November?
What's been most significant in preparing me for the job is just simply this, is that I first was in the legislature, and then when I left the legislature in 1994, from 1994 up through 2012 when I ran for mayor, I had been running a business. And I had helped Evan Jenkins with his campaign when he was running for state senate, and he asked me to get involved with him, and I said, well, I've been out of this for so long, and he said, oh, it's like riding a bike. And when I came in and got involved with it, I found that I still had the political instincts, but I had just a razor's edge because of the years that I've been running business. And I found when I became mayor, how that was able to work for me is that I came to understand, in essence, day to day, you have to make sure that you have enough revenue to be able to make sure that you can provide the services. And with everything that we started finding that we were having to deal with in Huntington, what it prepared me to do as mayor at the time was it gave me the opportunity to draw on my business background, making sure that we could balance our budget, making sure that we could reduce taxes and build revenue. But even beyond that, what it allowed me to be able to do is how do I start bringing, and this is the legislative experience, how do I bring other people together around the table and be able to encourage them to put their minds together, and it's amazing how much brilliance actually came together. So all of this comes together with the success that I've been able to have in Huntington, and starting as we started as the most obese, most unhealthy, most drug-addicted city in the nation, and on the verge of bankruptcy, and how we were able to turn that around. Frankly, if I could do this in Huntington, I'm certain that I can do it as governor of the state of West Virginia and work with every community throughout the state.
You said something very interesting in an interview I read that you did. You said that the difference between mayor of Huntington and governor of West Virginia, it's zeros. It's population and money, just it's bigger, but it's the same kind of job.
I learned that when I was working in the investment banking business. The difference between a big transaction and a small transaction, the fundamentals are the same, is nothing but zeros. Actually, I met with the mayor of New York City one time, and we were talking about some things, and I said, you know, the difference between New York City and Huntington, West Virginia, kind of looked at me with a little bit of a curled eyebrow, and I said, nothing but zeros. We're dealing with the same thing. And that is the case. We're trying to fix roads. We have to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe. We're doing everything that we can to create prosperity within our community. And as we start working on those things, I have that background. I don't want to sound arrogant saying this, but I'm the only one who is running for governor who has actually had to run an executive operation. And I think that gives every voter an assurance there's not going to be on-the-job training. As soon as I start at day one. And actually, guess what day one is going to be for me? November 6th. We begin immediately there.
Transition team.
Transition, making sure everything is organized. And then the first 100 days actually ends when I'm being inaugurated. Or no, for the State of the State address.
In my experience in working with politicians, You have legislative personalities and you have executive personalities. And there are very few that can cross over. There are some governors that I would have termed who were great legislators. And they struggled sometimes with the nuances of executive. Some executives have been really great, and they would have been terrible legislators. They would have been bored or frustrated or whatever. You've done both. Do you put yourself in either one of those categories, or you're the hybrid that can you enjoy them both equally?
I'm more of an executive personality, but the fact of the matter is I remember what it was like. Well, you remember when I was in the House. I wasn't certainly in the leadership. You know, we would walk across the aisle and work with the Republicans all the time. But what I started learning what to do was how the rules worked, how you start to craft. I had one fellow say to me, the reason that he was able to get so much done, he said, I wait to see what everything else is moving, and then I try to start placing my legislative agenda in those things that are moving. What it simply shows is that you can get things done if you're willing to work with people. And this is where I'm not intimidated by being a Democrat with a supermajority of Republicans sitting there, because I've worked with most of them.
Well, but you made a good point. If you're elected governor, you will not be the only Democrat that's being elected to go to Charleston.
Exactly.
So you would have a few more allies because you are fighting an uphill race in some regards with registration. Obviously, West Virginia's gone very red over the past few years.
Well, when I first started running, and you probably heard me say, this is an uphill climb, but it's a climb worth taking. Frankly, what I have learned in these last 2 years as I've been traveling around the state is that folks want a positive message, an enthusiastic message, an optimistic message. And with that, what people have responded to when I have said to them and said, we need to develop a bit of a swagger. There was a time in West Virginia that we would be saying almost apologetically that we're from West Virginia. Well, frankly, with everything that is going on and what we're embarking upon in the digital age, everything that we know within our background prepares us for the digital age in this regard. You know what's being attempted in the digital age? Everybody has to come up with solutions. And what best individuals growing up in Appalachia would, when our ancestors settled into the area, what they did is they came in with whatever they could carry on the back of a horse or a mule, and then when they would arrive, they would either grow it, make it, but then there was one other thing they had to do. They would repurpose whatever it is that they had brought along, a hoe, a shovel, and everything. And you know what that's called? Applied engineers. We were the first applied engineers in the nation, and that approach is exactly what people are looking for in the digital in the digital era. And as a result of that, I think that's our great opportunity. And interestingly enough, no matter where I go, whether it's in the north, the south, east, and west of the state, rural, more populated areas, everybody responds to that, because when I say, let's develop a swagger, you start to see the smile coming up on their face.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't exactly run to the store and pick up another hoe or something else back in those days. You absolutely had to carve out your place.
And now, with coding and such, the whole idea is, here's a problem. How do we develop a solution to get that? Now, this is what I was referring to earlier. When I draw a group of people together, a governor doesn't make the decisions. A mayor doesn't make the decisions. What we do is we bring people together and make sure that they come together. And it's amazing how brilliant our folks are. But with that brilliance, it's amazing the innovation that comes in. You've heard, as we were dealing with the opioid crisis, I think I shared this with you once before. I had a New York Times reporter come up to me and say, oh, Huntington, West Virginia, the epicenter of the heroin epidemic. boy, that stung. And as my mother taught me to be a gentleman, I said, ma'am, we don't quite look at it that way. We see that we are the epicenter to the solution to the heroin epidemic. And what started developing is the people that we started drawing together: churches, business leaders, doctors, hospital administrators, everybody around
First responders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And all of the things, and it was always, and it's still changing, but as we drew everybody together, it's amazing how we started identifying innovative solutions. But what I did find is that the mother's milk of our success is because we're small towns, we're a small state. We identify sooner what works, quicker what doesn't, and faster how to fix it. Which means, it doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to come up with the first solution is going to fix everything. Identify sooner what works, quicker what doesn't, and faster how to fix it. It means that we're just going to constantly be working together on that.
Probably have less margin of error too here. Because the margins are so tight in West Virginia and in Huntington and in Charleston.
Yes.
You mentioned the progress that's happened in Huntington in your administration, and I don't want to disparage any previous mayors of Huntington. I think everybody goes in trying to do their best job. But Huntington was not exactly rolling when you took over. Yeah, the difference between City of Huntington in 2012 and 2024 is marked. Do you have a plan to duplicate that on a statewide level in the areas which need it? The Eastern Panhandle seems to be doing pretty well.
Well,
but there are pockets of the state.
Yeah, but they have different challenges there.
Housing, a very difficult challenge there. Exactly. Everybody has challenges, but Southern West Virginia really has challenges.
See, the key is governing locally. Mm-hmm. Anybody who says that Charleston has all of the answers, that's the height of arrogance. Charleston doesn't have all the answers. Frankly, we have talent hiding in plain sight in every community around the state. And then by enabling city councils, which are legislative bodies, working with the administration, whether it's a city manager or it's a mayor, I'm not ever saying to anybody, oh, do it the Huntington way. No, Huntington is so different from Weirton. Weirton is different from Bluefield, but what you do is you enable those individuals to come together, and once again, they start identifying innovative solutions, but the whole state will benefit as a result of it.
You advocated pretty hard for a debate. Most underdogs are people who maybe the general feeling is that some people who are leading, a debate only hurts them, only helps. You've heard that. You've been in politics forever.
Well, I'm appreciate that he's sitting down and having a debate.
I talked to him and asked the Attorney General this question in our previous segment. Why do you think debates are so important?
First and foremost, you get to hear two people side by side, not one interview, another interview, how they're interacting with one another. So if people are watching this, they're going to see us in live time interacting with one another. But more than anything else, the purpose of the debate is to actually also start seeing, how does this leader think? How quick is this leader? And we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
When you talk about differences, the Attorney General has said many times in the same interview, he has said, I'm the only real conservative in the race. You've heard him say that, I'm sure, ad nauseum. He says it a lot. It's kind of a campaign slogan for him.
And what does that mean?
He goes on to explain it in the way I'll let him explain it. But what are the big differences between you and him, policy-wise, that you see that you think would be better for West Virginians?
I trust West Virginians to be able to make their own decisions. I believe in rule of law, individual freedom, free markets, making sure that we have budget discipline, and more than anything else, when we're govern locally. I think when I go down through all of these could be considered conservative.
I was going to say, that sounds like a very conservative platform.
Well, guess what? That's how you get things done. But conservative if you are looking at this table from your perspective, right to left,
right.
okay, right here, right to left, well, it depends on where you are. You know, I am way left of you right now, but if I'm right here and I'm sitting right here, well, actually,
much closer.
It's much closer.
But you do have some big policy differences.
On
Women's
reproductive rights,
abortion, that's been a big difference.
Yeah. Once again, I trust women to be able to make their own decisions. I've advocated the legalization of cannabis. And why?
Something else I was going to ask you about. Yeah.
Well, guess what? The reason why.
Some say, the opponents of that, which you've heard, it's a gateway drug. It leads to opioid addiction, which you've dealt with more than anywhere else in the state. So I'm interested
in my answer is that I'm the only candidate who has had to daily deal with deaths of overdoses. And my opponent talks, as I do, about fentanyl. As a matter of fact, he calls it a weapon of mass destruction. Guess what? I said that 2 years ago. But the whole key is on this is that the reason I'm wanting cannabis to be legalized is so that we can control the production of it. We don't know what's in the cannabis when somebody goes to consume that right now, and it ends up killing individuals because of fentanyl and God knows what else is placed in there. So all I want is to have the ability to control that, and then on top of that, we'll start taxing the devil out of it and be able to have plenty of revenue coming in.
States who've done that have seen revenue increases, and that's an important part of the budget.
Well, and when we're talking about reducing taxes, the personal income tax or whatever, I'm the only one who has actually reduced taxes. We eliminated it on manufacturing. We eliminated taxes on retail and restaurants, cut it in half on service business. Well, I didn't do that just to cut that so that I could right-size government and make things smaller. What I did is I created an economic opportunity so that our community starts growing, and we actually got more revenue coming in through the sales tax and other means. Frankly, if we would have cannabis being taxed, then my guess is that we could do an awful lot more on reducing the personal income tax because we have the ability to be able to draw other revenue to be able to provide those services that our public expects.
You've seen the polling that was, I think the last poll that came out was in August, so that's a world away in politics, so those numbers could move very much. But you know the makeup of the state, you know registrations, you're very educated on that. How do you win this race?
Democrats have to stick with me. Republicans who have an open mind will come my way, and independents. The key is that individuals need to decide what it is that they want. If they want somebody who knows how to fix roads, knows how to build infrastructure system, build broadband, want someone that can build clean water systems, create a prosperity within the community, creating economic development. I've done all of these things. Now, if you're wanting somebody who's coming in and stating conservative platitudes, well, fine. You'll never hear me saying that. You know why? I don't know whether there is a conservative pothole or a liberal pothole. If there's a liberal test that students take or a conservative test that students take, what you're interested in is making sure that we get the job done, that we actually lift our state up. We're all tired of people saying West Virginia is 50th, 49th, 48th, 47th. What we can't be saying, let's just get better. What we want to do is be able to say we're the best. And we do that day in and day out. So when folks have a decision to make, you want somebody who's going to get something done, or you're going to have someone who is going to be trying to present a conservative agenda, whatever that is. let's get things done.
That sounds very much like a closing statement, but I wanted to give you an opportunity as we close out this interview if there's anything you'd like to add as you kind of a closing message to the voters.
Yeah. Oftentimes, I'm asked, why are you running for governor? The purpose that I'm running for governor is to see our state is being transformed. And the best way, as I see it right now, is to be the governor of the state of West Virginia. But my mission is not to be governor. That's not my ambition. My ambition is to see that our state is transformed in such a way that we build the next 50 years where we're setting the standard for the rest of the country rather than trying to follow what everybody else is doing. I believe that becoming governor gives me that best opportunity to see that we're transforming our state. If you all decide that I'm not the one to do that, I firmly disagree with you. But if you do, I'm going to have a really good time finding out how I can adjust myself to make sure that we're still going for that same mission, the transformation of the state of West Virginia, and we can do that together.
Huntington Mayor Steve Williams, Democratic gubernatorial candidate. Thank you for coming by.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Kenny.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this segment of Beyond the Podium. We'll see you soon.